Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Let's do a mid-year check-in. Alright, so let's address first a different spot where I have been filming the videos where you can see part of my bookcase where I sit there, which is at the foot of my bed. Ophelia has been asleep and now she's given herself a bath right there, and I'm not going to move her. For those of you who might be new here and don't know, Ophelia is my black cat. So I'm going to let her have the spot and we'll just film right here. You just won't see any books behind me or anything, which is fine. So, okay, so the mid-year check-in. This is more commonly known as the mid-year freakout. I have never particularly cared for the title. It just seems negative when most of the questions are like, what are you looking forward to? What was the most... I mean, there's like one or two that's kind of maybe like the biggest disappointment. But everything else is kind of happy. And so the mid-year freakout just kind of didn't seem to match, in my opinion, and was more negative than the most of the actual questions were. So, and I've seen a couple of people start to call it the mid-year check-in tag, which I like better. So that's what I'm going to refer it as, which is the mid-year check-in tag. So let's go ahead and get into this. There are, let's see, 13 questions. Fairly straightforward as far as what I'm going to be talking about, at least in my opinion, but you never know. Okay, so question number 1, or prompt number 1, because not all of these are questions. So prompt number 1, best book you've read so far in 2021. I've read quite a few good books, but I think the one I'm going to go with for the best book so far is Sing Me Forgotten, and this is by Jessica S. Olson. This one takes place in an opera house, and there are Gravois, and I can't remember the other one, but it starts with an F, and it's very similar. But the main character is Isda, and she is a Gravois. It sounds better when the narrator's saying it, because it's like a French interpretation or French accent. So it sounds much better when the narrator says it. I did read along while I listened to the audiobook, and I loved it. So Isda is this creature, this Gravois, and is feared. And when people see other people or other creatures like her, they turn them into authorities to ultimately be killed. And even when they are born, they're supposed to be reported and killed. But she lives in an opera house. This man took Cyril pity on her and decided, I guess, to kind of raise him as her own. Well, Isda meets this Emeric, and Emeric says that, no, things aren't what you're thinking. Cyril's really a bad man. And so you're following along as she starts to unravel things and figure things out for herself. I thought the ending of this was so sweet. Like, it almost made me cry. I loved it. So definitely best book of the year for me. Okay, number 2, best sequel you've read so far in 2021. Okay, so I have both of these because right now there's only 2 books in the series out. So the best book that I read is by Melissa Storm, and that is Wednesday Walks and Wags. This is a part of the Sunday Potluck Club series, which I have right here. And do you have to read these in order? Not necessarily. I recommend it because characters in this book characters in this book are making an appearance in this book, but then the main characters in this book make an appearance in this book. But it's sort of a continual time frame. So this book takes place first, and then a little while later, these events happen. So chronologically speaking, as far as time goes, they are continuous and take place one right after the other. but they do follow different perspectives. The third book comes out this year, and I hope there's going to be 4, because there are 4 main characters. There are 4 friends. It follows the perspective of 4 friends, but one is the main dominant perspective in this one, and then one of the other friends in Wednesday Walks and Wags. So I can't really tell you much about Wednesday Walk and Wags specifically. So I am going to talk about the Sunday Potluck Club. These 4 friends have a thing in common. They all met in a hospital when someone that they are caring for has cancer and is losing the battle with cancer. So you are dealing with loss of a loved one through cancer. The main character in the first one is, I want to say Bridget. Well, anyway, or Amy. No, yeah, it's Amy. Amy is the first one, and then Bridget is the main focus in this second one. So Amy is a teacher at an elementary school. She has a new student and wants to reach out to that student and kind of help this student deal with their own grief and things like that. But at the same time, she has Sunday potlucks with her friends. They do this on Sundays to kind of talk about things and deal with their own grief. And it's also kind of about letting people deal with grief in their own way, but also recognizing and helping them recognize when it's that grief is too much, when they may need to seek help to go through their grief in one way or another, that they can't take this grief on their own, that it's starting to cause them more harm than good. So there is a lot of talk about grief in these, but I love them. They're chick lit romances. They are clean regarding the romance, at least these first 2 books, where I hope the third one is just as clean and cute. But I have loved these. I think these are great. Number 3, new release you haven't read but want to. Plain and simple, I don't know. I don't really keep up on new releases. There is an exception to that, which we will come to shortly. But for the most part, I do not keep up with new releases. That exception I will talk about in just a second. Okay. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. This is where I keep track of new releases, but again, very specifically. So, for example, when I read the Sunday Potluck Club, I looked it up and saw there was a second book in the series, ordered this. When I finally read this one, I did know that there was a third book coming out, but there was no release date, no cover or anything. So when I finally read this, there was a cover for the third one. Still nothing listed yet. And when I have ever thought about this series, I've thought about that third book that's supposed to come out. I've checked it recently. It's supposed to come out in October. So I pre-ordered it. So only when I am in the middle of reading a series I am absolutely loving and want the next book in that series, then do I keep track. So there's not very many. The third book in the Sunday Potluck Club series that will be coming out in October, the release date is October 26th, is called Manic Monday Incorporated. The image of the cover is purple. There's a little black cat on one of the corner areas, but I don't know, because I didn't look into it, so I don't know which friend's perspective it follows or anything like that, but I am looking forward to that one. There's 2 others. There are 2 other books that I have pre-ordered. The other one that's coming out in October, the release date is October 7th, is Crown of Cinders. This is the second book in a series. I do not know if it's only going to be a duology or if it will be a trilogy or a longer series. But it's Wings of Fury by Emily R. King is the first one in the series. And it's been long enough, I don't really remember much about it. I'd have to read the synopsis of the book to remember about it. I just know I believe, I do remember this gal promises to take care of her sisters when a family member dies. if I'm remembering the right one, I believe so. And has to deal, there's mythology in the book. They get on a boat and cross the sea with a man, and they end up in this island where there's not supposed to be any men. Men are forbidden, so it's only women on the island. But yet she's being guided to a particular man to help her break this curse that haunts her family. So it just follows those events as she tries to break that curse. So anyway, and there's things that happens, but I don't know a lot about mythology, but there's mythology referenced quite a bit from what I understand. The third book I'm looking forward to the release date is August 2nd or 3rd, so I will get this book in hopefully less than a month. So the book I will be hopefully getting in less than a month is called Two Wicked Desserts. It is the second in a brand new series. It is a cozy mystery series, the first one being One Poison Pie by Lynn Cahoon. So One Poison Pie, it's been a bit. Mia Malone. So Mia wants to be a cook. There is an autistic character in this, and it is the best friend of the main character. And this best friend happens to be the sister of the main character's ex-boyfriend. So you'll kind of figure out more into that. But it was very cool to see an autistic best friend, like sidekick, secondary character. But anyway, so Mia happens to be a real witch, but she channels her energy. They're called a cooking witch. So it's not like she goes out casting a bunch of spells, but she is able to cast spells, but most of them deal with heightening things with her cooking, if I'm remembering right. But it is called a Kitchen Witch Mystery. Very cute. Love it. Highly recommend it. So looking forward to getting that second book. And I will definitely try to read that right away. Okay. Number 5, biggest disappointment. I do not have this book anymore, and I am not going to be on the side of the majority of the people on this. I read this. There was a lot of hype. It sounded good, but I don't think it was executed well, in my opinion. And so I unhauled it right after I read it because I just didn't like it. And that is, unfortunately, Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. I thought the idea was great. I liked the diversity in the book. But in my opinion, I struggled with it. My biggest pet peeve in books that I can't stand is when the main character, or really any of the characters, and there's only been one other book that I DNF'd for the same reason, is when the main character just complains, and then complains some more. I just felt like there was very little plot. I mean, I will say there was some plot development or some character development, but not... And I've read books that doesn't have much plot or character development, and I've still enjoyed them. The biggest thing is just all the complaining of that Felix did. And it really got under my nerves, really irritated me. So, but if that doesn't bother you, you may like it. But if you are also like me, where you do not like to hear a bunch of complaints about how someone wronged you, about how someone is currently wronging you, and I've read like fantasy books where there's some complaining, but then the character is like, well, I'm going to fix this, or I'm going to kick their butt, and I'm going to, or something. But it was like nothing. I felt like there was no motivation for the character other than find out who revealed their dead name. But to do that by catfishing, and I can see teenagers thinking that that would be a good way to solve something. I can see some teenagers doing that. So I have no problems with that. And I thought that was a clever twist on things a little bit. But it was just all the complaining about things. I just couldn't, I just didn't like it. And that is why I didn't like it, is all the complaining. So let's go on to the biggest surprise. I found on Audible, an Audible original called this Tom Stranger. What does it say? Tom Stranger, Interdimensional Insurance Agent. It's by Larry Correia. This is a trilogy, very short and very quick, but hilarious. Science fiction, speculative humor. There were jokes about Donald Trump. There were jokes about anti-vaxxers. There were jokes about you name it. There was a lot of funny stuff. I can't really say much because they're very short. I will spoil anything other than just saying it's interdimensional science fiction. One thing I can say is that each planet has multiple versions of themselves in different dimensions. So we could be Earth number 377, but there could be an Earth 765 in a completely different dimension. And so things and people are the same, but they're different because they're in different dimensions as well. And then you have good versions of people and evil versions of people. So very, very funny, very, very strange. That's the best way to say it. Okay. Number 7, favorite new author or debut, by debut or new to you. So this is a new to me author and a debut author, and that is a faux love story by Lon Lee. I know I'm saying that wrong, and I'm sorry. I love this. I know people had an issue with it, but I was able to take a step back. Seeing this, there was complaints, but there was not a lot of complaining, in my opinion. Raging Korean restaurants, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, they're across the street from each other, and they're against each other. So, he works in one restaurant, she works in the other. They form a friendship, but they have to keep it secret from their families because their families are against each other and don't like each other for something that happened in the past. So you're following them as they navigate through high school, try and navigate their friendship, any romance that might bloom, and things like that. I thought it was very sweet, and I loved it. And I look forward to know if this author is going to write any more stories. Okay, number 8, new fictional crush. No one. I don't have fictional crushes, at least yet. I've never had a fictional crush. No, I take that back. I had a fictional crush on Draco Malfoy that no one's ever... I don't have a crush on Draco anymore, but I haven't developed any other crushes. Newest favorite character. Again, I don't have another favorite character. I've had groups of characters I like, but nothing that stands out like this is my absolute all-time favorite character anymore. Book that made you cry. I have not read a book that made me cry yet this year. Sing Me Forgotten almost did. It got a little... I didn't shed any tears, but it's like... I could have. So, but that's the closest I've come to crying so far. Okay. Number 11. Book that made you happy. I am choosing Unicorn on a Roll by Dana Simpson. This is the second in the Phoebe and Her Unicorn series. The reason why this makes me happy is it is beautifully drawn. It's just a comic book, so it's easy to read. I mean, heck, if I was Phoebe's age, I would have been tickled to death to have a unicorn as a best friend. So, yeah, this just makes me happy. Okay. Last two. Number 12. Most beautiful book you've bought so far. Okay. The most beautiful book I bought so far, I bought it because I personally know the author. The author is a wonderful woman. We live in the same neighborhood, and I wanted to support her. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I really liked the cover. So this is a Sisterhood of Secret Ambitions by Sheena Boqueg. Look at that. It's a plus-size woman. How many books do we see with plus-size people on the cover? Not very much, although we are starting to more and more. But plus-size woman, this is, I believe it's a historical fiction. And it says, behind every powerful man is a trained woman, and behind every trained woman is the society. So, and it is historical fiction because it takes place in 1927. Other than that, I don't know anything about it. I didn't read anything. I just know that Sheena is awesome, and I wanted to support her, so I bought her book. Okay, and the last question or prompt is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? All of the books. As many books as I can. I can't give you specifics because I could say that one book I want to read by the end of the year, but then I'm not in the mood for it, and then I push it into the next year. Who knows? It'll all change. Just whatever I want to read in as many books as I can. So those are my answers to the mid-year book check-in tag. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll list the questions down below. I will also try to find the original creator, and if I am able to find the original creator, I will link their information in the description box as well. You will also find my social media information in the description box if you would like to be my friend on any of those platforms. And that's really it. If you'd like to do this tag, I know a lot of people have done it already. Please feel free to do so. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book. And I will talk to you later.